Hello and welcome to this, the first of a series of 3 webinars brought to you by FSB, that's the Federation of Small Businesses, in partnership with Amazon. These 3 webinars that we're bringing to you are all about protecting your business. And today we're going to be focusing on cyber fraud and scams. I'm Dave Sharp, a proud FSB member, professional MC and also BBC broadcaster. Today, I'll also be joined by industry experts. I'll be introducing Paul Newton, who's the creator of Mental Theft, Helen Barge, director of Risk Evolves, Francis West, who's the FSB cybersecurity policy champion, and Cam Degger, who's senior solutions architect from Amazon Web Services. Hi to all of you. We'll be coming to you very shortly. Welcome to all of you on this very important issue. If you want to raise a question, and we have already received many, you can put them in the Q&A and we'll try and get to those. And if not during this webinar, then of course, we'll email you our answers later on. More of that coming up. It is a recorded session, so if you have to dip out at any point, then you can watch us again on catch up via the FSB channels. This is a key issue. 44% of small businesses have been targeted by cyber fraudsters in the UK. 1 in 4 falling victim to cyber crime or fraud or a scam. It's a huge number and it's costing us a lot of money. And not only that, it's one of those things, and we'll talk about this, as the stress and worry that it can cause individuals and businesses as well. So today we're going to be looking at 5 key issues, the most common attacks that are affecting the UK and UK small businesses. We'll also be looking at how the pandemic affected trends in online fraud. We'll spot and tell you about the likely weak points and the weak spots within your business. Not only that, of course, we don't want to just hype up the worry. We want to tell you some practical steps that you can take, sharing some tips on what you can do to protect yourselves. And there's lots of support out there. We'll show you how you can access free resources. We'll be sharing lots of links in an email that's coming up following this webinar. But before all of that, and before we get to our first question and go to our expert panelists, we've got this important message that's brought to you by Marcus Jones, who's the MP for Nuneaton.
Cybercrime and scams can be devastating for small businesses. So I'm absolutely delighted that the FSB have come together with Amazon to put this session on today, help you find solutions and help you get tips so that you can avoid being scammed. I really hope you have an enjoyable session. Cybercrime and scams can be
double dose of Marcus there. Thank you to Marcus Jones for sharing that message from government level. MP for Nuneaton and Bedworth. Let's go diving in though. Helen, I'm going to come to you first. Good morning. How are you?
Morning. I'm good. Very well. Thank you, Dave. Very well.
Good to see you again. We've worked together. This issue isn't going to go away. We've been working together for about 4 or 5 years. It's not going away. Tell us, what are the most common threats in terms of cyber scams and fraud that UK businesses are facing currently?
That's a really good question, Dave. And I think what we're seeing is, unfortunately, more and more of the same type of threat coming through. If we look at some of the statistics out there, phishing emails, really cleverly crafted emails, we saw a 14,000% increase in those during COVID. Ransomware, according to the World Economic Forum, a 435% increase. And I saw a statistic yesterday from the West Midlands Cyber Resilience Centre that said every 19 seconds a small business is successfully hacked. Now, for me, that's quite scary. And as a business owner, when we're all trying to keep our businesses running when things are tough at the moment, I think the greatest threat is actually is complacency. The theory that it won't happen to me. This is something that happens to other businesses. This is something that happens to the companies that you see in the BBC headlines. So I think for me, we're seeing lots of very similar threats, say phishing and ransomware, and those are the ones that we need to tackle. I know we've got lots of really good advice and guidance for people on the call today.
Yeah, and Helen, I mean, they're coming in from all sorts of angles as well. It's not just in an email, it's links that you can click, it's coming in on your phone. There's just so many ways, and you've only got to be vulnerable and complacent once.
Absolutely, yeah. So unfortunately, we need to be lucky, if that's the right word, 100% of the time. But our dear friend, the cyber criminal, only needs to be lucky 1% of the time. They just need that little chink to get into our businesses, and unfortunately, they can absolutely wreak havoc. Whether it be exfiltrating money through invoice fraud, it's still around invoice fraud. Whether it's be stealing information, perhaps we've got some client databases that they might be interested in, or the bank accounts of our customers and our employees. We've all got data, and that data has value.
Paul, you're nodding away there. You and I have worked together. You've got a very interesting role as, can I call you a magician? You've got mental theft, but this is important stuff. You guide people into how these scams and frauds happen. What would you add to what Helen's told us?
Mate, do you know what? It's just so nice to have a group of people here that are singing from the same sheet. We're all just trying to say, look, people, watch out. The thing that I would want to point out here is something that you quickly touched on, Dave. You said it's not just email. You're right. Okay, we have to watch out for WhatsApp. We have to watch out for texts. I got a text yesterday saying, Mum, my phone's broken. Can you message me on this new number? It's a scammer starting to trying to find information from me, because these are the things that work. They're going to use your emotion. They're going to use your passion. They're going to use everything they can while social engineering you. Okay. And to do that, they're going to try and put you under pressure. They're going to try and make you scared. They're going to try and make you emotional, and they will use any means possible. I think as experts, security people have been warning about email phishing so much, people are starting to get it. People are starting to put their guard up when they're on emails. But what about all the other forms of text, WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, anywhere you can get messages, there's phishing, okay?
Yeah.
Just please be careful.
And I mentioned that you're a magician, and I've probably not done you justice. We've worked together, you've worked the room, and you use clever techniques to get inside people's minds so that they give up this information. So even in a room, whilst you're celebrating or you're out socializing, these fraudsters are at work, and you demonstrate that quite clearly, don't you? You've always got to be on your guard.
Yeah, in the room, my talk is normally titled, I Can Steal Your SH1T, because it makes me laugh, and it amuses me how many people still use swear words with numbers in there as their passwords, okay? But even when I'm warning you I'm going to do this, I still get away with this stuff, Dave.
Yeah.
And if I can do it that blatantly, what are these absolute scumbags getting away with when they stay hidden?
Yeah, exactly. Francis, a lot of these things look very professional, they're very genuine. You start questioning, so this looks really real from my bank, or from my relative. They're using the language I use. The graphics are good, and the pandemic seems to have accelerated things a little bit. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. I tell you, Dave, since everybody started working from home, the whole landscape has exploded, or let's call it the security perimeter. Because before, people used to work in their office, they used to have a firewall, and they used to have some protection layers around them. And all of a sudden, when the pandemic hit, everybody went home, and they're sitting, connecting to the same wireless network as their son or their daughter or their partner, dare I say, who's downloading dodgy stuff from some gaming website to give them some extra functionality. And it just spreads like fire, So yeah, it is the short answer to your question. Since the pandemic started, and a point I want to add to what everybody said so far, it's not just the online attacks that we're seeing; it's physical as well. People getting little postcards through from, you've got to pay £1.20 extra for your parcel delivery. And that just goes straight through to, some hacker's website, and you put in your details in there, and the rest is history.
And phone calls as well. I remember my parents, bless them. Oh gosh, it used to really worry me. I even thought about having their telephone removed, because they were getting so many every day, posing as other companies can, including impersonating Amazon, dare I say. You know, that must really rankle you, Can.
But just before you answer, Can, if you don't mind me just jumping in there, I actually did a post on the Amazon scam where my mother-in-law phoned me, and what happened was, just a quick short version, the guy was on the phone saying, yeah, you know, you're supposed to renew your account, and cut a long story short, she was one click away from losing £8,000. So she kept the guy on the phone. She phoned me from her husband's phone, and I drove to her house in 8 minutes, and I recorded the entire conversation speaking to the scammer. So sorry to interrupt you there, Cam.
No problem. It's not about a simple company's problem. Nowadays, impersonation is a big issue for everyone. Every business is out there, because as Paul said, that there's the WhatsApp communications you can have from calling from Amazon, or even you can have a different phishing methods are available now. They use, the last one I have seen was pretty interesting. They use the Google support chat log to send a legitimate Google email, but the attacker just saves the log and then send it to you. And then when you click on it, he starts talking to you on the platform he chooses, and everything is legitimately coming from Google. For example, that was an attack as well.
And of course, these can be very random, but they can also be very targeted. And you've mentioned phishing attacks, but any kind of targeted cyber attack, I mean, we read about it a lot, but small business owners may think, oh, well, they're not going to come after me. I'm not big enough.
Sadly, Dave, if I can come in, that's not the truth. Our criminal knows that we've all got data, and that's what they're after. So nobody is out of scope of this particular exercise by our criminal. And if you think about it, there's an attitude that perhaps we're easier as smaller businesses. We don't have the big defenses of the large organizations like the Amazons. So, you know, I direct my customers to use AWS because Amazon invested huge amounts, gazillions amounts of dollars in making sure they're safe and secure. But we need to look a little bit closer to home about how secure we are. Yeah,
Cam, would you add anything to that?
Generally, I agree with it's like that. Even though the targeted attacks happen, there are multiple ways that they can come with. Even though we have other protections in place, we call something, for example, zero trust in place for everyone when you're building your technology. And but some things are out of our control when the targeted happens. How do they target you? Is that not particularly a company's specialty is the target, but how easy it can be. For instance, they can go run after leaked passwords. There are multiple leaked passwords happening for the last decade or so, and then they can look into those passwords, and then if the password is reused somewhere, they can try that password in other accounts so that they can get that account. So not particularly targeting a person, but an easy attack is a good target for them.
Yeah, it's a worry. I mean, I obviously talk to you guys on a regular basis, so I'm kind of aware. But Paul, do you think that the media are actually going too far and hyping this up to the point that, you know, everyone switches off because they go, oh, yeah, whatever?
Right, this is a bugbear of mine because I do get a lot of people saying, oh, they're scaring us with this and they're scaring us with that when they're talking about mainstream media. The fact is, Dave, if they were going too far, I wouldn't be getting shed loads of phone calls from people who are saying my mum's just been ripped off. People who are saying my business has just gone down. People who get in touch when it's that bit too late, okay? I don't think the media are going far enough. I actually think we've got a load of people who want to do the right thing, but they're scared of scaring us too much. Now, the fact is, just on this panel here, we've got some nightmare stories, okay? All of us have. I've got one lady that I'm trying to dig out of the absolute dirt right now. She's been ripped off to the tune of 45 grand, all of her life savings, and she's been used as a money mule to pass more money to these scammers. So not only has she been ripped off, not only is all of her life savings gone, she's now potentially getting done because she's had a load of money come into her bank account, sent it off somewhere else. She looks like she's evading tax. She could get done on so many sides right now. but thankfully I've got people around me that are going to go in and help her.
Yeah.
Mate, seriously, if it was going too far in the media, I'd be out of a job, and I'd be
Yeah.
quite happy with that, Dave.
Yeah. And actually, I mean, sometimes it becomes so regular. I mean, in the last 2 weeks myself, I've had my Facebook account cloned and I've got all of my privacy settings. So all they did is they stole my picture because that's public and my name, and all of a sudden people are getting friend requests from me. I've had a pretend text from a bank saying a payment's been set up. If this isn't you, click this link. And this morning I had a reset your Microsoft password email, and that's just in the last 2 weeks. Francis, there are a lot of weak spots. I've just named 3 attempts on me, and at any point I could have just gone, oh yeah, oh, where are the weak spots, Francis?
We've only got 45 minutes left. You know, if I tell you, Dave, in the last 9 days, my team and I have dealt with 9 different cases. And let's pick one, because I think this one is probably one of the most important things. For me, when I look at people's, let's call it cyber footprints, the only door you can't close in any business is what I call the email door. And a lot of people do not put the basics in place when it comes to email security configurations, number one. Number two, they also do not make it absolutely mandatory for every Office 365 and G Suite user to turn on multi or two-factor authentication. And that's the biggest weak spot, because like Cam said earlier, if I was a hacker, I would just simply go and buy, funny enough, we're on Zoom right now. I would pose a question to everybody right now on this call to say, when last did you change your Zoom password? Because Zoom was compromised 2 years ago, and 500,000 Zoom username passwords are currently for sale on the dark web for less than 1 penny. And the problem is, it's okay if it's lost, but it's not okay if you use your Zoom password for your email password, for your baby alarm, for your Netflix, for your Amazon account, and then wonder why you get hacked.
Yeah.
I'll finish off by saying, please, if there's one thing you can do today, is go and lock down your email accounts. And I'm talking not just the business ones, everyone, the free ones as well, please.
Yeah. We've got some questions starting to appear in the Q&A. You can look at those and add, you know, some of those answers. I mean, one has already been raised about Facebook, about reporting some of these things. It's frustrating, Helen, isn't it? I mean, you've probably got something to add to what Francis said there, but it's equally as frustrating when you do spot a scam and you report it and then nothing gets done, you know. So like my Facebook account, I reported that straight away and it did get taken down straight away. But what would you add to what Francis said?
So I just want to come in actually on a couple of points that Mary's asked as well. So on the reporting, please report. If you have a phishing email that's come into you, or even a phishing text which has come into you. So if you have a phishing email, you report it to the National Cybersecurity Centre. It's a report, and I will find the exact email and I'll put it into the chat. But the National Cybersecurity Centre got huge computers that crunch all this stuff down now, and they can take down fraudulent websites. So keep people that are issuing this stuff out to us in less than 2 seconds. So you may not get a thank you letter back from them, but there is stuff that's going on behind. If you get a phishing text that comes through to you, and that's a smishing text, then please forward that to number 7726. So I know that's really hard to remember. 7726, look at your telephone. It actually spells out the word spam, S-P-A-M, 7726. That again goes through to the phone providers and mobile phone providers, and they start taking this stuff down as well. But also that one also goes through to the ICO, the Information Commissioner's Office. And the ICO starts to look at the types of data that's coming through, and are we being targeted by companies that shouldn't be targeting us for advertising? So those 2 top tips there. And yeah, this is, so Mary's question is around, should we recommend training our staff in recognised scams? Absolutely, train your staff, because in my opinion, if you train your staff to look out for this stuff at work, they take that knowledge and education and they take it home as well, and they start listening and looking out for the types of stuff that's coming through at home, and that begins to embed a good habit which they bring back into the workplace. So training is key. And the other question that Mary's raised is around Cyber Essentials. Cyber Essentials, just do it. The name is on the tin, yeah. Cyber Essentials, this is the essential stuff that you should be doing to keep your business safe and secure.
Yeah.
It's a scheme for the National Cybersecurity Centre. You can hear I'm quite passionate about it, but it really does take down that threat. And to Francis's point about changing passwords and making sure those passwords are strong, that's one of the key requirements of Cyber Essentials. Just do it, guys.
Yeah, brilliant advice. And thanks for that. 7726. I've still got that
7726.
from that spam text that I got from the bank. So I just
literally forward it, 7726. You'll get a message coming back that says, please, can you provide me with a telephone number? You just do a copy and paste into your text message, boom, and it takes 2 minutes.
Great, I'll do that. And Can, while we're talking about mobile phones, I mean, do you know what? They do everything but make phone calls these days, don't they? Taking photographs, all your social media can be on there, your banking, you can shop online, obviously, with Amazon, you've got the app. There are lots of potential threats just on a mobile phone. What would you say about the threat on mobile phone security?
Exactly. You know, mobile phones are like computers now, and that we do everything with them. And then the size gets bigger, the CPU got better, then everything, technology improves. So it's all our lives, and they're in the center of our lives in most of the case, in the center of our businesses, if we go look at it as small businesses today. So everything is being followed from there. When you look at, very simply, when you ask the question, the first thing comes to my mind is that the fake applications that is be available in the mobile app stores or Play Store, whatever, the application stores in general, that there are multiple. I remember last month, they have taken down like 400,000 fake applications, which were injected with malware from the application stores of manufacturers. So for one of them, and then the other one had like 160,000. So there were a lot of malware injected fake apps available on the application stores. So this might be a very huge password stealers, session stealers. They can be like they can steal your session cookie. You know, when you log into your banking account, you want that session to be opened, right? Keep it open. You click on keep it open. There you go. You have downloaded a cookie, which we call session cookie. When someone steals that, you're done. Your session, without any password, without any MFA, that person can log into your account. So that is a big issue, for example. So be careful what you're downloading.
Yeah.
Make sure you're downloading the right applications from the applications.
Is there another piece of advice there then, Can, that maybe you should always log out? And
Yeah,
then
exactly.
log back in?
That is probably in Cyber Essentials. I'm not an expert on that, but that is probably in there. That is in the bucket. That is saved and safe. But the other one is that do not download.
Yeah, because I know I'm going to switch to Paul next, but Francis, I want to add something later on. So bear this in mind, is that thing on Google where it said, do you want to save this password on Google? And I used to do that, and now I don't. So there are lots of things. Just one more thing, Can, with mobile phones. I have an iPhone, and obviously other phones are available, but in my mind, and demystify on, is this a myth? I'm safe, aren't I? Because Apple they're all over this, aren't they?
You can't say it that way. Yeah, you.
I think we
one
lost
particular manufacturer.
Yeah, just say that again, Can, because we lost your sound slightly. I mean, I'm not trying to out iPhone here or Apple, but there is a myth that they are super secure.
The super secure is a very bold statement that I would never say. What I can say is that there are benefits, yes. There are advantages, yes. But I can't say any manufacturer is way more secure than the other.
Which is what I wanted you to say, because there are myths out there, and this is what we're talking about, Paul, isn't it? That because my question to you is, who takes responsibility for cybersecurity in an organization? And I don't want to predict, but I'm guessing you'd say everyone, and including people like me who might say you're being a bit dumb there, Dave, just thinking that your phone's safe because it's a certain brand.
Mate, you're spot on. It should be everyone. But then I hear this, okay, in the audience today, we will have one-man bands. We will have companies that have got 5 people in it. We'll have companies that have got 20 people in it. We might have companies that have got thousands of people in it, okay? And the problem is that I still come up against this argument of which budget does it come from? Who needs to pay for this? How are we going to pay? And, you know, people start making an argument for security should be in charge of this. Actually, this is about money. So finance should be in charge of this. Actually, it's about IT. So IT should be in charge of this. And actually, where it's a joint decision, the board should be in charge of this. And what a load of rubbish. Okay. Surely we must be at the point where we go, it needs to be everybody. Okay. Stop caring about where to penny pinch and why. Think of it as an overall organization. If you're a one-man band, use us. Right? I would lay a bet here that none of the people on this panel will mind if you send us a message, keeping it as secret as possible, saying, I'm worried about this and I don't get it. Because my job is to worry about doing magic tricks. Okay, I need to concentrate on that as a business owner. I don't need to concentrate on how many widgets are in a firewall and how many. Use the people around you that know what they're doing. Okay,
Right.
And who's in charge of it? You're right, mate. It should be all of us, but too
Yeah.
many people have still got their head buried.
Me included, and I'll probably come across as like that. Helen, you know, I mean, I'm a sole trader. I have an IT company that look after things, so they put an extra layer of security in, and I tick that box and think I'll be safe. Well, you're never safe, and IT departments aren't just dealing with security; they're dealing with all sorts of IT issues, aren't they, within companies? And you can't just lay the responsibility on them.
No, you can't. You're absolutely right, Dave. And I think this is one of the other misnomers that we have in the world of cybersecurity. We think that the IT department takes care of everything. Well, do you know what? There are some amazing IT providers out there, and I have great privilege in working with those IT guys. And the one thing they are all really, really bad at is they are not psychic.
Yeah.
You know, they
Yeah.
don't know when you're going to go out and buy a little or go and engage another third party. They're not psychic. So back to Paul's point, this is everybody's responsibility to be really transparent about what's going on in the organisation. And as you say, Paul, get around you those people that you trust who can help and advise and guide. I will also just say as well that not all IT providers are absolutely amazing. And I know Francis and I have had conversations offline about that. There are there's various things, there's various schemes that can help you with that. I think Lindsay's going to be sending out some links after this. The FSB will sending out some links after this to give you some advice and guidance. Make sure you've got a really good, strong IT provider around you. Ask them questions. If they come back with acronyms, ask the question again until they absolutely explain it to you, because the IT industry, and I hold my hand up as well on this, it's brilliant acronyms. You know, we talk a completely different language. If you don't understand the answer, just keep asking the question until you do understand it.
And you made a point there, Helen, you're absolutely right, that just to remind everybody, an email will follow this webinar with a link, not only to watch the video again, because obviously we're covering a lot of ground, but also with all of these sort of top tips and other links that'll take you to secure sites, and that's important, where you can get free resources and all of that. Helen, you'd already mentioned once. We're not going to put them in the chat. We don't have the chat facility, but people will receive them. Francis, just very briefly then, following on from what Helen said there, about you know, responsibilities, IT departments, you know, and then someone like me is saving everything on Google.
So if I tell you, if I had £1 for every time we get a new client and they say, I thought my IT company had me covered, I think I'll be a very wealthy man today. And you know what I always say? I say, where in the word IT support does it say cybersecurity specialist? They go, no, it doesn't. I said, exactly. And I think the big problem that we have on this planet right now, until businesses, even small one-man band businesses, start splitting this role and not expecting the plumber to be a very good roofer. It's a different discipline. And for me, this is a big thing. And I sit on 7 security panels, and as including FSB, as you know, and this is a topic that comes up a lot, because I say what we should do, we need to educate the IT or the managed service providers better, so that they can advise or even know how to think better to advise their customers better. And until that's going to happen, we're going to have a problem.
Yeah, and companies are doing that. I mean, you know, responsible companies are saying, put this layer of security in, put this layer in security. I mean, I know when I go onto the Amazon app, you know, I have 2 layers and a password, and then I get a text and I have to put that number in as well. And you know,
So Dave, last week I'll tell you one of the 9 quick cases. This accountant was hacked second time in the 1 year. Second time, small, only 5 people in his business. They started phoning his customers to say, listen, unless you pay us X, we're going to do the same to you, as because we got all your data from the accountant. So imagine how many customers this poor accountant is losing. Do you know what his IT company told him? They said to him, just replace your computers, you'll be fine. Just reload them and that's it. And I'm like, you serious? They got into his Dropbox account, email accounts, his Xero accounts, got all his backups. And people wonder why they get hacked.
Yeah, it's good. But it goes back to your point, doesn't it? Kind of about, you know, those extra layers. It might seem a bit clunky, but it's worth it in the end, isn't it, Ken?
Yeah, exactly. So we should look into how much effort do we put and what do we get in the back as a return. So sometimes it's possible ways to, you know, prevent these. And then I have seen also the very relative question, how can we identify the fake apps, for example? How can we identify a scam? How can we identify? Most of the time, trusted resources is the key. So you download, you click, you share, you get trusted resources from trusted resources. So for example, impersonation of a company in an application store is not possible. So if it's an application published by Google Inc., Amazon.com, and then or any other companies, the impersonation of the same company, for example, Google.com, is not possible. They will block it eventually. So make sure that you're downloading, you're looking into, and awareness is the biggest line of defense, as these professionals and my panelist professional friends are always talking about. Be aware. Awareness is the first line of defense in this case, if you look into it. And one maybe functional tip that I can say about the leak passwords we were talking about, for example, there's a website called, we can share on the email afterward, Have I Been Pwned? If you look at that website, haveibeenpwned.com, you will be able, and type in your email, you will be seeing in what leak, in what year, your email has been shared into dark web. And then you will be able to know that, oh, that password is in someone else's computer. They know that password. Now I need to go back and change it.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. Good tips. And we're halfway through, and we're getting into tips. Helen's already mentioned Cyber Essentials. Paul, we'll talk more about Cyber Essentials. That's just, it is a brilliant way of really focusing on your business and making sure you're cyber secure. But these guys, they're always one step ahead, aren't they? I mean, one thing that I remember of one of the campaigns is that advert where on the telephone they go, can you just give me the first and fourth number in your passcode? And then they go, oh, sorry, can you give me the second, third? And there they've got all 4.
Yeah.
You must have, in the world that you work in, and I've seen you work, clever ways of getting inside. I mean, there's one, it's so simple, but there you are. Somebody's got your 4 digits.
Mate, it's honestly, I use a number of ways. Okay, so many people will happily talk about passwords, and they'll talk about the main ways to make them up. And, they'll explain to you, oh, yeah, I use a really clever one. I use my year of birth plus my first pet dog's name, or, because I haven't given you any information. And then you talk about a few other things. Later on, you come back to, oh, you've had pets, haven't you? What sort of pets have you had? Oh, I had this lovely Springer Spaniel dog. What was its name? Oh, it was Snoopy. Perfect. I've already got half your password. I mean,
yeah,
it just makes me laugh. There's loads of different ways. Something I would love to point out is you've got some really clever people here giving some really great advice. And I deliver talks all over the place. When I do a live talk, I blatantly just ask people, look, show of hands, how many of you have set up a decent password manager? And how many of you have set up multi-factor authentication? Still, now, I would say it's about 15% of the audience have set up both things. Now, I'm rubbish with numbers. I don't care about statistics all that much, but I reckon we'd wipe out something like 98% of the scams that are out there if everyone just had a decent password manager and multi-factor authentication. And now what I'm actually going to do, there was a question in the list of questions from Amy Lawrence asking if password managers like RoboForm are secure. Now, you've actually picked on one that I don't know very well. Okay, I've looked at loads. I constantly look at different ones. I'm going to say to you, Amy, use a password manager that is trusted by someone here. Okay, because it's our jobs to keep an eye on these things. I have my few favorite ones, and actually Francis is one of them. Right, I happily say to people, go to Francis, he'll sort that out. Go to Francis, he'll sort that out, because he will. Francis is one of my trusted suppliers because I checked him out a lot. Okay, cheers, buddy. But yeah, if we just set up those two things and use them, you would stop the mind reader in the room, because you don't have your passwords in your head.
And with just going back to phones, Helen, because there's some, you know, we've all got them on us most of the time, if not all of the time, and you know, you've got thumbprint, you've got passcode, you've got facial recognition. Does that make it more secure?
Yeah, use them. Just, you know, the phone providers, the Apples, the Googles, and goodness knows who else in this world have put a lot of money into this to help us be secure. If we choose not to use the security functionality that's provided to us, then kind of who's at fault? Who's at fault? And I would certainly, when it comes to passwords, don't just use four digits, use 8 digits. You know, make it complicated, make it something that you can remember from a digit. For that, the point is, you just want to be able to remember one password and one passcode. Everything else put into, to Paul's point, to Francis's point, use a password manager, use them. They cost pennies compared to the risk that you could be presented with if this information gets breached.
You know, I'm going to own up here, putting my own hand up. Even the thought of using a password manager, I'm thinking, you know, first of all, which one? Paul's already given us a tip, go to, you know, to a trusted supplier. What steps do I have to take? What about all of the passwords I've already created? You know, oh, it's too much trouble. Oh, I'll just stick with what I'm already doing. I don't know whether any of you guys can put something together, a little one sheet that says, these are the easy steps. Stop worrying people like you, Dave. It's not that hard. You don't have to reload them all or whatever. So if one of you could do that, because I'm sitting here thinking, oh God, I'm one of these idiots that you're talking about.
So Dave, can I just come in on that? I think it's really important as well as an industry that we don't make people feel stupid about this, because let's be honest, some of this isn't straightforward. Yeah, we do talk, I will say, you know, shame on us, we do talk a different language. You know, people talk about MFA, 2FA, etc. What do we mean by that? Well, all we're talking about is just another step to stop somebody getting into your account. So at no point should anybody feel stupid. I think, you know, we've got a discussion a little bit later about culture. I think it's really important we don't make people feel insecure or insignificant. This is complicated, and this should, in my opinion, be taught in schools.
Yeah, and you do feel a bit daft, especially if you do fall victim. You do feel a bit.
But these guys are clever, yeah. So everything that Paul said, they're firing stuff at us. We could be really, really busy, and you know, I'll put my hand up and say, yeah, we do phishing training in house, and yeah, I've fallen victim to our own phishing training. And it's just a combination of those things. It's clever, it's timely. We're busy people. This happens. So it's about having what you're going to do if it does happen around you as well.
Yeah, we've always got to be 100% vigilant, 100% of the time. Francis, I'm sure you've got something to add to what both Paul and Helen have said there.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's just rewind. Number one, because I saw another question about Chrome. Never, ever, ever, ever say yes to when it asks you to save your passwords inside Chrome. I'm not talking about the Chrome password manager, I'm talking about the normal, you know, when it pops up, because I can tell you, maybe I won't share it now, but there's a way to hack every single password in your Chrome browser in 1 second. And I've made a video to prove it. So number one, what we do is when we implement password managers for our clients, we babysit them. We literally log onto the machine remotely. We transfer all those passwords from the Chrome browser into the secure password manager. Then we delete all those passwords, and then we turn off the auto pop-up or autofill feature inside Chrome so they don't do it again. And then the very first thing, the most important bit, I think, apart from the time saving of using a password manager, is the fact that it alerts you if any of your passwords have been compromised on the dark web, which means you can then take action. And then it's 3 clicks normally. You click a button and it just generates a random 20-digit password. The moment you can start remembering passwords, apart from your master passwords, you don't have a good password. And there's a brilliant website that I want to share with everybody. It's security.org/how-secure-is-my-password. And you can go in there right now, and it uses algorithms. So type in your passwords, one of the ones you're using, even to change it a little bit, and you'll see how quickly it takes to crack a password. Today, an 8-character password we can crack in under 1 hour.
Wow, I've just written that sentence. Just say that again, security.org.
Yeah, security.org/how-secure-is-my-password.
Yeah, okay, got that.
A brilliant website, because then, you know, use it to demonstrate. Helen made such an important point just now about kids. And I've done this with my children now, and I've shown them how easy it is to crack one of their passwords.
Yeah. Wow.
You know, and when you do it visually for people, then they start taking this seriously.
Yeah, life's moved on. I used to just sit with a letter in front of the kettle trying to steam an envelope open. We've gone
The good old days.
We are way more of a threat there. And we're scaring people. Probably we need to, but we don't want to make them hide in a cupboard somewhere. But there are other benefits, aren't there, of making sure that everything's secure?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you. Can you repeat that one?
Yeah, well, I was saying, you know, obviously we're scaring people into and worrying people, but there are lots of other benefits as to why people should keep everything secure, aren't there?
Yeah, of course. There's as I mentioned, the awareness is the key in here, and then we should get people secure in a way that understand as long as we get educated and get trained about the attack vectors that is happening on the market, then we understand. For example, Francis had a very good point that it takes 8 characters password to crack in 1 minute. Nobody is dealing with cracking passwords anymore. Nobody is cracking passwords. They don't lose any time. Any attackers, they don't need to, because the passwords are already on the internet. They just get it, download it, and use it. And you don't even need to be on the dark web. It is available into normal web for $10, I guess. You can get everything, right? All the passwords. So the deal comes to the password managers. That is a good thing that I have seen like 3 other questions, and including RoboForm. RoboForm is one of the first ones. Like 20 years ago, they started this. They are one of the first ones. It's a good one that I can say. And then I have seen a McAfee says that information found in the dark web, what can I do? Change all of your passwords. That is good thing to do. First thing to do, change all of them and enable MFA. That is the second thing to do, first and foremost. Google Password Manager and Chrome Password Manager, or saving your password in the browser, is completely different things. Chrome Password Manager is not, they call it Google Password Manager nowadays. It's an enterprise password manager with detecting reusable passwords, and it is possible to sync it, and then they will encrypt the vault that you put the passwords in. So complete different service. I would suggest to use that if anyone can use anything else. Last resort, but a good resort. And the LastPass have been hacked multiple times that we have seen, but the vaults are not. So it doesn't matter if they hack into LastPass. At the end of the day, the vaults are not hacked. So nobody's passwords has been stolen. So use password managers. If possible, use it in the enterprise level. So you use it with the, you pay the money, like 1Password, $1, $2, whatever the price is. Because when you buy the premium service, they will look out in the dark web, and then they will hunt for your emails. And then if they are shared somewhere, they will report it back to you immediately. That is the premium service that you're paying with the password managers. That will be the thing. And then, of course, enable the MFA. Always enable the MFA.
Wow. If people have seen me dipping down, writing stuff down, it's because it's all of us. I'm a sole trader, small business owner. I'm thinking about my wife as well, and we're probably going to grab her phone when she walks in the door tonight. let's just look, Francis, I'll come to you first. We're going to pick up the pace now as we move some more of these interesting subjects. Antivirus software. Actually, we had a question about loading it onto your actual website. I think we're all aware of loading it onto, your devices, but what's your thoughts on antivirus software? And then we'll come to you, Helen.
Okay, this is a very interesting question for me, because the problem that we have is that antivirus software used to be really good 10, 15 years ago. Problem is that the threats have evolved so much now. And the problem is there's a lot of known, I'm not going to dismiss anybody, known antivirus solutions out there is very bad at detecting behavior. And it doesn't see unknown threats, which means that if a new threat just lands on your desktop, in your PC or Mac, you're not protected, number one. Number two, most antivirus software will also not pay your ransom. Why not? Because it's not good enough. So the point I'm going to make is that if you're going to invest in antivirus software, make sure that you find one that will pay your ransom, and two, that's backed by a security operations center, even if you're a one-man band. Why? Because at 2 o'clock on a Saturday morning, when somebody's busy stealing data off your PC or Mac, you want to intercept that attack and stop it normally in under 3 seconds. Normal antivirus software will just think that you're working late. And there's my issue. Hope that answered it.
Yeah, it did. God, I've got a list of things to do, Helen. Apart from Cyber Essentials, what about all this other stuff?
Yeah, antivirus you absolutely need one of those. But again, the key thing with an antivirus, and I absolutely agree with all of Francis's point, is keep it up to date as well. This isn't just a one-time install, leave it, install and walk away from it. It's like all the other software that we have on our phones, on our tablets, on our laptops, etc. Keep it up to date. This isn't a competition to see how many apps we need to have updated. This is about as soon as those updates come out, please apply them. And that also includes keeping the AV up to date, the antivirus up.
Okay.
And it is one of the requirements of Cyber Essentials.
There we are. Yeah, I mean, they've thought about everything. Just a next question. ISO 27001. We should probably give it a more punchy title, but what's that all about, Helen?
So ISO 27001, for some of you may not have heard it, but this is the international standard. It's an information security management system, and it is the information security, or one of the major information security management systems to be looking at. If you are, it's just recently been revised by the International Standards Organization, and what it takes is the best practice from lots of very, very clever people who say, this is what you need to be doing. The revision to the standard came out just 3 weeks ago, came out back end of October, and we're seeing a significant increase in the number of companies that are needing to certify to ISO 27001. We had a little bit of discussion in the pre-call about whether or not this was just something that big companies have got, and I know that the likes of AWS, of Microsoft, of Google, etc., they all have ISO 27001. What we're seeing from a consultancy perspective is more and more companies being asked to adopt ISO 27001 in order to get into supply chains. So that's what ISO 27001 is. And just a quick one, it's not a replacement for Cyber Essentials. The two standards do two different things, so please make sure you've got both.
Good advice there, Paul. The worst happens. You sink, don't you? The morning I got my Facebook account cloned, so I wasn't hacked.
Yeah.
I got a message from someone saying, mate, I think I've just had a friend request from you, and I woke up to that. It ruins your day. You feel it drains you. But if it was something more serious than that, what do I do?
Mate, do you know what? Cloned is serious, but there's not much you can do to stop it, especially if you're in the public eye. Everyone that's sat here today, there are photos of us on the internet. As soon as you've got a photo and a name, you can be cloned, okay? But what you need then is your friends to be vigilant and to spot that if a second account of yours suddenly appears, why would I suddenly want 2 Dave Sharps on my social media? Okay,
yeah.
One is scary enough, to be honest with you, Dave.
Without a doubt. And the second one became more popular than the first.
That's just mean. That is just mean. Okay, right. The worst case happens. You find out you've been hacked. You're losing access to stuff. Then what do? Actually, Helen said a couple of brilliant ones earlier about letting the nationals. I'm going to get the name of it wrong. National Cyber Security Centre.
That's it. Yep.
Yeah,
Yes,
good.
thanks. And the texting about forwarding text to 7726, brilliant. Do both of those. I would also say action fraud. Now, I think they're inundated with stuff. I think they've got far too much work on, but still pass it to them. And one I'm going to mention is contact your insurance company, okay? Because hopefully you've got cyber insurance, right? Because everyone should by now. It's not ridiculously expensive and it will cover your backside as long as you've got a good policy. Talk to the FSB, they'll help you with that. There you go. Contact your insurance company. They will have specialists that deal with this all the time. And while you're going into panic meltdown, you could have the experts coming in going, we've got this, all right?
Yeah.
We've got this, we've got you, you're not going to fail. One of the scariest stories I have, I won't say the company name, that's just wrong. A company that did very well for over 150 years got wiped out because a scammer got into their systems and took 15 grand at the right time. Okay, that 15 grand being gone, they didn't have cyber insurance because it's never happened to us. So why would it in the future? So they didn't buy any insurance. The 15 grand was taken just before all of their staff were meant to get paid. It wiped out their cash flow, wiped out the company overnight. I don't want to hear those stories anymore.
True. Good point. Francis, what would you add to that?
Would you mind repeating the question? Because I was just
Sorry,
thinking
yeah,
about...
Francis, what would you add to what Paul said there about, you know, when the worst happens?
Yeah, I would, number one, never pay the ransom.
Right. Okay.
Okay, because the thing is, again, we deal with so many cases where, you know, if you pay the ransom, you're not guaranteed to get your money back. And what we're seeing now is double encryption. So you pay the ransom to unencrypt the data, and then it's encrypted again. So you've got to pay again. You know, so for me, in our world, prevention is the only cure.
Okay.
But going back to Paul's point, you know, people need to take this stuff seriously. And you know, I do so many talks around the subject. And I think when you start realizing as a business owner how many people depend on you, and let's quickly work through it. So you've got your partner, your kids, your staff, your suppliers, your customers. So in case of an event, think how many people's lives are going to be severely impacted. And now ask yourself the question, is it worth spending more money to do my protection properly? We spoke about stats right in the beginning. You are now 9 times more likely to suffer a cyber attack than a burglary, according to Hiscox. Please, ladies and gentlemen, take this stuff seriously.
Yeah, that's good advice. I'm guessing that you would echo what Francis has said. Anything else to add, do you think?
I really don't have much to add. It has all been said, to be honest.
Yeah, fair enough. And Helen, you know, we've covered a lot of ground. Is there anything we've missed on that topic of if the worst happens?
Yeah, there's lots of really good, and in the UK we're really fortunate to have a number of excellent support networks. So again, another link that we sent out to everybody is an organisation called the National Cyber Resilience Centre. So they are an extension of the police. They are funded by the police, but their sole mission is to make UK PLC, which includes us, more resilient to cybercrime. Now, within the National Cyber Resilience Centre, there's also 10 regional cyber security centres. I'm based in the West Midlands, and surprise, surprise, there's a West Midlands Cyber Resilience Centre. They are free for small businesses to join, and they put on loads of really good sessions. They've got access to groups of excellent resources, and they will help you. If the worst happens, contact them. They will also help you. But working alongside those, and again, most police forces, most regional and local police forces have a cyber resilience officer as well, somebody whose part of their role isn't just to knock down doors of cyber criminals, but is also to help us as companies prevent crime in the first place. And there's a question on the Q&A about how can we get in front of people. I work quite closely with the police in the West Midlands. Dave, you see me do it. You know, we go along with the police officer and we talk about local crimes that are happening here and now that affect small businesses here and now. And sometimes these stories really kind of bring this whole problem to life. If you can relate to something that's happened to a local business where money's been taken or they've been suffering from ransomware or something happens, it just makes it real.
Yeah, brilliant. Listen, guys, I think it was you, Francis, that said, you know, we could spend the next hour just talking about just one fraction, you
Yeah.
know, the best software to get for protection and all of these things. But to wrap this up, because this is just the start of an ongoing, it'll never end. We'll always be having this conversation. We will share some of those tips, but let's go around the screen, as it were, with a final top tip. Let's start with you, Paul. If you were going to say to someone, do this, do it now. Number one, what would you say?
I'm going to reiterate the password manager and the multi-factor authentication. Just do it straight away. Okay, take the time to do it. But something I want to something I hope we all get across today is we don't expect you to be cyber gurus. We don't expect you to be cybersecurity professionals suddenly. Okay, let us lot do that. Let the people who know what they're doing play that game. All right. And we will cover your backside as best we can. Use the people around you.
Brilliant. Good advice. Helen, what would your top tip be?
I'm going to reiterate all the points that Paul's just made. Surround yourself with people that you trust. So there are a lot of people out there that want to help companies start. And that, I think, is the important thing. Move this thing about cybersecurity from the bottom of your to-do list to the very top of your to-do list. And if you do nothing else, multi-factor authentication, strong passwords, patching, just do the basics and do the basics well.
Yeah, noted. Yeah, next thing to do. Francis,
Well,
you'd say the same, wouldn't you?
No. Well, yes, because they've already said it, so I'll echo. But I want to take it one step further. You said a top tip.
Yeah.
So many people I meet, probably 99% of people use WhatsApp, right? Do you know how many people secure their WhatsApp account that I meet? Probably close to zero.
Me, because I saw you do this live at an event, and so everybody in the room went,
so my top tip for exactly. Remember when that happened? Remember there were what, 300 people in the room, and 6 or 7 people put their hands up. So I'm going to quickly show you my top tip. Open WhatsApp, go to settings, go to account, go to two-step verification, and please enable it so that the hackers and scammers can't get into your WhatsApp account.
Yeah, done. Did that live when you did that in the room. You know what? Brilliant. Can, finally, a top tip from you.
Everything has been said, but what I would say that be aware, not to be a guru or an expert, but be aware.
Yeah.
And use and choose the services and tools that is available on your disposal. They are out there. If you don't know which one to pick up, ask FSB, ask Paul, Helen, Francis, and reach out to people that will tell you what to use and how to use. Don't confuse I have seen some questions, secure and privacy. You know, there are some tools that gives you privacy, that is something else. And then there are some tools that is secure, that is something else. We're looking into secure tools in here.
Okay.
Privacy is not something else.
That's
so
good.
Be aware. That is my big advice.
And that's good too. And be ultra aware at the moment. We're entering a time where people will be vulnerable. There's a lot going on in the world. People will exploit like they did during the pandemic. They'll do the same with, you know, the energy crisis. People will come with nice people. I remember my dad, God rest his soul, I said, why did you go this far? He said, well, he was ever such a nice guy. You know, these people aren't wearing balaclavas and stripy t-shirts with a swag bag. These are, you know, genuinely, seemingly nice guys. And I can't even get into pension scams and all the other stuff. But what I will say to conclude, we've covered a lot. We certainly haven't covered all of it. We've skimmed the surface. So we will be sending out a link not only to this video so that you can share it with your colleagues and also watch it again. There'll be all of those sites that you heard Helen, well, everybody mentioned different places you can go for advice and tips on how to report. Remember the number 7726 for reporting. The more people we report and get it closed down, you know, we've got to smash this. So all of that will come to you. These people, and thank you guys. Thank you, Paul, Helen, Francis and Cam for your time today. They're giving up their time today because they are passionate about this topic. They're available to you and many more as well, including FSB. And if you want to know more about FSB, we'll pop that link in the email as well. And also, just to finish off, I want to talk more about the Amazon Small Business Accelerator. They've helped over 600,000 businesses since 2020. Loads of free resources there to help you with your business, not just on the issue of cyber security and fraud, but just about your business in general, protecting it, growing it, and supporting it. So do check out the Amazon Small Business Accelerator. So there we are, we're bang on an hour. Thank you to all of our experts today. Thank you to you for watching. Stay safe, I think, is the message. Stay aware is what Ken would say. But for now, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you on the next webinar.